Madhouse, I am joined by a very special person. Katie, how you doing? Introduce yourself.
Well, hello. Like you said, my name is Katie of the Lore Keepers Inn, and I'm very excited to be here. It's the LCCC, my first time hosting with you guys, and a very exciting matchup right before bed, so we're all gonna get our energy up. But I'm excited anyway.
Oh yeah, and what an exciting time of the night because everybody's kind of getting ready for bed. So it's a great way to end our evening. Like you said though, we are here for the LCCC, the legendary cross-continental challenge. The name changed this time around, and what an exciting game because these aren't we have a bunch of great players in the LCCC, but these aren't just any great players, right? We are joined by not only one winner of a DLC, but two winners of DLCs. We've got Ed, who's not only won a DLC, but also won the North American Championships, and then Level 9000, who went and won the DLC at Toronto. So it's really exciting. You've seen the deck lists over here, Katie. Who's your money on today? What are you thinking?
Well, it's exciting and hard because at this point I want both of them to win because we both know that they came off a loss and these are both players that we know can do spectacular things. But I'm quite excited because as we know, they can keep the same deck color in colors, but they can change their cards and there's been some very, very exciting changes between the two decks. So I don't know. I'm not publicly saying who I want to win, but I do love a good aggro deck. So I'll just show my hand a little bit that anything with
Mm.
an aggro flavor, suddenly I'm very excited. What about you? What are you excited to see tonight?
I everyone knows me as a Steel Song person, a Steel Song player. So I can't quite cheer for a red blue player. It's in my soul. I can't do it. It just kind of feels a little bad. So I'm sitting over here with green yellow. We've got level 9001 Diego Saz running his green yellow. It's not quite complete aggro, but it's also not discard, which is what he won when he won in Toronto. But we got this Chernobog ramp, and this is a little bit different than what we've been seeing because this Chernobog ramp has a little bit more of an aggro package. So it's exciting. I can definitely understand why people are really enjoying this deck. Have you played it yet?
I did. Ironically, I did build it today because I Luke had been playing it, and so
Mm-hmm.
had Breezy. And the name alone, Churn a Dog, is enough. The marketing is really working on me there. So, and that is famously named that way because it's got dogs, and you got Churn a Bog is kind of the fun little reward for getting through all those dogs. So, it is a very fun deck. It's exciting to see something a little familiar but a little bit different enter the meta, especially paired against something that it's a classic. I think that Ruby Sapphire is just, it's a classic deck, but he's
Mm.
tuned it a little bit differently. Do you want to speak? I mean, the Lesser Public, correct? At this point, they
Oh, yeah, they
did.
are. They're completely public. I have a video out there that people have been watching. And so while the players kind of go through their altar right now, let's talk about Ed's deck really quick. And Ed running, of course, red, blue. Remember, all the players can change any card they want in their list as long as they stay within their color pairing. And Ed this time opting to go with no dime, no Maui Half Sharks, and a very controversial no B prep. So while we talk about this list, I do want to just let Speedy know our special code word. We're ready to rock and roll whenever you are, Speedy. So, but what do you think about this list, Katie?
Well, it's a very controversial thing because I mean, Be Prepared is the safety blanket of Ruby. You play Ruby because of all the colors in the entire color world. This is the one where you can wipe a board.
Mm-hmm.
But with Sapphire Coil, suddenly, do you need it? And that's a question that we're going to see here. We've seen it play out a few different tournaments. I personally love a Be Prepared, but I think with the Sapphire Coil, suddenly we have Daring Visitor Sisu, we have Brawl. Those become even more powerful where you might not even need that emergency eject button, which gets you to retain that value while doing some pretty intense damage to the Emerald Amber deck that he's up against.
Yeah, I mean, and it's going to be interesting. One of the things that I continually hear about this Chernobog ramp, Chernodog kind of green yellow list is that it can be really good into blue steel, but then it kind of suffers a little bit into red blue because of the Sizus and everything. But this version is just really quick. But we're talking about lists, but they're ready to rock and roll. They're ready to rock and
Yeah, they're
roll.
doing it.
So right off the bat, we see the Pegasus come down, and let's see how we respond with Ed. Pretty
Yeah,
normal
and Ed
start.
is yeah, and Ed's naturally going to have a much slower start at first. I think that's kind of the pain against playing against any Ruby Sapphire deck is you're like, look at him, he's not doing anything, and then suddenly he's doing everything. But we have that little baby Pegasus on the board, which I love very much, and it looks like he's going to go ahead and play or ink that tramp, the 2-cost tramp, I believe that is. I haven't seen the
Yes.
enchant.
I know the pretty enchanted tramp. So, but here we
So
go.
off,
It's
yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was like, I mean, he's got that piglet. I always get afraid because, it's not right away. You have to have some kind of something to get down that piglet, but we're moments away from a brawl turn where suddenly
Mhm.
anything's on the table to be just whisked away with Ruby.
Oh yeah, and it's always a scary thing, but there's something really exciting about playing a piglet that is just getting you 3 lore. And when you have Pegasus down, this next turn he's gaining 4 lore with no, you know, great way really for Ed to answer this piglet right now, especially where he had to ink that Fortisphere, which is, could have been a way to answer it with Tipo. So we see is that, oh, the tramp coming down because and the Prince Philip. So really, that is a lot of lore really, really early right now. Ed's got to be sweating a little bit. So tramp is going to the inkwell. So
Yes. Yeah, and that Prince Philip is one that I became to know it from Mo's list.
mhm.
Mo, who's another competitor in Continentals, where he's not super fancy, but he is on the face without a coil. He's going to be Sisu proof, and he's got ward, which then makes it where you cannot take him down with a coil either. So he doesn't do much, but dang it, he's going to stand there and hold his ground.
And he's going to do a good job at doing it. So Sizu coming down, being able to answer the Pegasus, so it slows things down a little bit. But right now, the other really nice thing about that Sizu coming down is next turn he's able to trade Sizu and Tipo into that, but he can also do the thing that level 9001 wants less than anything else. And we're going to see that big Sizu most likely coming down. So, really scary turn coming up for Diego. But we are going to
Yeah.
see. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, I mean, it's scary, but at the same time, oh, well, it's a lot scary. Well, they're the ship. That makes it a lot scary because now we got one with Ward that can't be targeted by a coil. And now that Pegasus is sitting at a 3-3. So really, Piglet's the one that's like, I'm a little
Mm.
scared out here.
Yep, and he has all the reason in the world to be scared for what's about to happen. But the nice thing is that even with the shift coming down, he's able to clear the piglet. The shift will trade into the Prince Philip, but he can still quest for free with that Pegasus being evasive, questing for 2. That stuff, it adds up. So it's right now it looks like Ed just kind of has to decide, what do I need least? What is, just not important to me right now? And I'd imagine he's leaning towards that coil, but I don't know. What do you think the best route would be to ink here?
Yeah, it
Oh.
feels good to draw first and then just say, well, let me see my options because 2 cards makes it a little less stressful. And now I believe, yeah, that we're still many turns away from that Maleficent Dragon being super useful. And
Mhm.
also that Sisu, it's something where you don't necessarily want to fire off too early because once you
Mhm.
fire that, you don't get it back. It's not a bounce deck. So I think it makes sense knowing that there wouldn't be a lot of value right now. It'd just be that one piglet where, build up the board, get up that coil, because then next turn, if he ramps twice, that coil can take that Pegasus down to a 1-5, or sorry, I mean 0-3,
Yes.
uh, which is much more tempting to hit 2 targets there.
And very true. And and that's again, I don't play a lot of red blue, right? So when I see the opportunity to just blow something up, but red blue, one of the things I have to admire about what they do with their list is they're perfectly happy utilizing their lore, or the opponent's lore, as kind of an extra defensive wall, in the sense that I don't really care if you get to 17. If you have no reach because you're not a purple deck, then I'll just control you the rest of the game. And we talked about it earlier with deck lists. That's kind of what Ed's deck is meant to do. Just control everything you play. and I'll slowly get there one way or another. And it looks like that's what's about to happen. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
he's how far I'll go, does a little bit more ramping. And then, yeah, I'm expecting that Sapphire Coil to hit the Pegasus, and then it's tricky. I think that Prince Philip is a great choice, knowing that Be Prepared is falling out of favor, because you can use Sapphire Coil all day long, but it won't work on a character with Ward, so he's feeling
Mm-hmm.
pretty comfy.
He's feeling very comfy, but man, oh man, what a turn. And then you still have the coil and the Sisu in. You have the Sisu in hand, still the coil on the field, knowing that a lot of the characters in Diego's deck are going to fall to that combo. I mean, we saw. I was watching a game the other day. Someone was streaming on Twitch, and they took out a Chernobogs with the 9/9 Chernobogs with a baby Sisu and a coil, and I was like, that just feels awful.
Yeah, I mean, it adds up so fast. The fact that it's if you have two coils and you ink twice, my goodness, you can have really anything you want, like you saw with that a Chernobog. And now we're seeing kind of the scary board state uh for Diego, because he does have a lady and a piglet. He only needs to quest for three, so
Mm-hmm.
he can get there, but not in this case, because in this
Yeah.
case we do see another Sisu come down, which is a one-sided board wipe. Especially in this case, you don't even need Sapphire Coil. They just
Mm.
go they don't fit the height requirement to even need it.
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny. It's now a race. It's when you're, especially if he decide. So he's just gonna play the Rapunzel, gets him to 19. It says answer me or we are in check, because that 19 is a dangerous place. At that point, you're just kind of hoping. I see two Sizus. I've seen one Maleficent Dragon. He's running out of those big wipe characters. So it's definitely not over for Diego. There's still, when you're at 17, you're pretty close. But Ed, he can quest for a lot. Right now, he has 3, 6, 9, 10 on board. So it's a 2-turn clock as well. So I don't know. It's looking pretty dim, I must say. I do not know if Diego has any reach in his list at all. If he's running Donald Ducks even.
Yeah, and we see here that he's got the benefit right now is Sapphire still has a plethora of card draw options. As
Mm,
we see, he gets a brawl, which is exactly what he needs. So it just becomes this struggle of Diego can put out one card at a time, and they get a little less impressive every time. So we'll see if he goes ahead. He's going to play that Tamatoa to get some items back, and that is going to help him even more with the card draw. But as far as his ink, he won't be. Yeah, I think, yes, he'll still be able to do that brawl this turn,
hmm.
which feels really good because we're
Yeah, it
looking at his
does.
hand, and that's not is not in a world where you're looking for be prepared. And Ursula is not the worst thing to have, but when you have nothing on the board and there's no be prepared, it feels a little less good.
Mm-hmm. Just a little bit. And unfortunately, that is it. Oh, man, and just like that, the board can get just so nasty so quick. We know those shift Sizus coming down and just questing for 3 and clearing your board, or even that shift Sisu coming down and then clearing that Prince Philip. Just it feels pretty bad when you're an aggro player. So
It's a matchup too, because I mean, when we look at Diego's deck, there are no actions, there are no locations. It is just the actions are cooked into the characters he's picked. So it's really hard to respond to some of the things that Ed's going to be relying on. He cannot remove any. He doesn't run any Clarabelles right now,
mm-hmm.
so it just makes it in a position where he really his plan A is to go fast and to keep going fast and hopefully get some card draw too. uh, we didn't get to see the lady fire off. Could be really nice to refill your hand later in the game, because that
Mm-hmm.
lady, if you shift her for 3 or you pay for 5, you get 2 of those little guys back. But in this case, he didn't get that. He just had to kind of play the one card at a time, which Ruby Sapphire eats that all day. It
Oh,
loves
oh
having
yeah.
just one card at a time.
Oh yeah, they do. They really, really do. And it's just it's the thing about Red Blue, the Ruby Sapphire, like they just do it so well. When they get you to that point where if you're in a top tech position, that's like ideal. Like I will clear one character a turn without any problems. And we showed it off really well. Talking about green yellow, you talked about how I think you said you just sleeved it up, and you mentioned Luke. I know Luke in his version on stream earlier, he was running those cursed merfolks. I think just a little bit more aggro and feeds really well the lady, being able to bring back those two one drops. How's your green yellow list looking? Have you taken motivation from any particular
I
player?
copied him.
Okay,
I
there we
copied
go.
Luke.
All right.
Imitation is the most sincere form of flattery.
Yes, it
So
is.
I love to play somebody where I know they've had some success with it, because then I'm like, if I do bad, then it's me. That's
Mhm.
my favorite thing to do. So
Yes.
I am a serial net decker. But yeah, I mean, sometimes that the aggro focus of those cursed merfolks, I played it a few times today at League, and you are able to get a pretty disturbing amount of lore on the board between a curse merfolk and then two daisies the next turn. You build up a problem really fast. In
Yes.
this case, it looks like they opted to go. Diego went a little bit more. I mean, it's still pretty aggro focused,
Mhm.
but it just looks more, especially like the Nala. The Nala on the list makes me think that they were more afraid of steel
Mhm.
being the enemy here. Because anytime I see
Yes.
something with before, I'm like, okay, so you just don't want storm to hit you. But in this case, it's tricky. Once it runs out of gas, it's really hard to build back. So do you think there's anything he's hoping? He's going first, which helps quite a
Yes.
bit. But anything in this mole where he's like, God, I gotta get this in my hand this time.
I think, I think you always feel pretty good about getting piglets down. I think this deck is never unhappy seeing the ramp, because getting a Chernobog's down is not an easy thing to answer, even for red blue. That takes some time, but I think just any kind of early questing power you're gonna be really happy with. So piglets, the daisies, even getting the lady and tramp down, that lady questing for 2, I think you're happy with any of that, but looks like they have started. Let me get this deck list out of the way.
Yeah,
Bam.
it's an interesting hand that we're looking at here on Ed's side. I don't love it. It's easy to pick what you ain't because there's lots of inkable things, but not so.
Yeah.
Oh, we had a Vitalosphere, so I didn't see that. But the Vitalosphere feels, at least it's something on the board to
Mhm.
start feeding that item engine. And a Daisy isn't always the worst thing in this matchup, because as we know, there is a plethora. We're looking at a total of 24 non-character
Mhm.
cards,
Ooh,
and
and
we see
that's
them
a
going
start.
wide, which
Yep.
feels good.
Oh yeah, that feels really good. And Vitalosphere is nice, but Tipo still, even with Vitalosphere, I'm pretty sure it's +2, right? It's not even. I don't think it's +3. I
Yeah,
could
you
be
have to
way off.
banish it,
Yep.
rush, and +2. So
Yeah.
not
So
enough for a daisy, but start working.
yeah, it starts doing something. So so now Ed's in this place of, what do I use to ramp here? What do I care about more? Do I need the sail to draw a card? And it looks like that's what he's going to opt to do. Not what he wanted to see yet. So,
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen that. I think in order to be a Ruby Sapphire player, you have to be somebody that is been in this position many times where like, I'm over,
mhm.
it's over, I'm cooked. Because it feels that way sometimes, but I'm always like, don't until it's over. Now he is not running Pirate's Life, which is always a card I fear most. But we do know that Diego really has to make sure to keep his hands full. We don't
Mhm.
see any characters being banished, which means that lady shift becomes a little less of an exciting play. But we know Prince Philip did some heavy lifting next turn. So I feel like Diego's feeling a lot better than right now. We're looking at Ed go, I don't know. It's all not so great.
Yeah. Yeah, and it certainly is, because he's just looking at all this lore coming down, and even that go-go in hand, if he keeps that in there, he is in a weird kind of ink turn right now, because go-go represents a good opportunity, especially like that's some easy lore, but it represents better opportunity if you have Prince Philip down. So you kind of want to keep both cards, because he has to trade into Prince Philip, which means something takes 3 damage. So you go to gain 3 lore, but then he's stuck at 2 ink. So really awkward place. And he opts to, yeah, I need lore to be able to play the Philip. And yeah.
Yeah. And it's tricky because, I mean, Go-Go's something where it's nice to have that reach, but Philip has shown a lot of value living. So if he
Yes.
challenges into something to get that go value, then it loses the benefit of him having ward and not being able to be coiled. So I think it is the right play, knowing that Philip stood upright and was able to survive. the whole game last time. But that
Hmm.
Chernobog is an interesting problem because you got to feed him. Otherwise, he is
Yes.
just a big guy, and there's no he'll probably get some characters to lower that cost at some point. But the start has definitely not been the fast feed to the Chernobog ramp that can sometimes be very beneficial here.
100%. A tramp top deck would feel pretty good right now because he could start doing, at least he could draw something and see something and kind of manipulate his hand, and that tramp would let the lady quest for two. So that is, going to be a big deal. But let's see what he opts to brawl here.
Yeah, I mean the Daisy's the most persistent problem, especially because
Yes.
sometimes that takes away those cards you desperately
Yeah.
want. Uh, and he doesn't know that that lady could shift, and it's not the biggest problem quite yet. But we'll see. He is
Hmm.
gonna ink, or no, he went ahead. When it's in the middle like that, I'm like, what are you
Yeah,
doing there?
what's
But no, he
okay.
did ink the Phillip and shift, and gets that Daisy right back in his hand, and he'll play it again.
And that feels phenomenal. For you just put four questing on the board, but the lady being able to come in this turn to quest after you just got rid of the daisy. So it's just if you're Ed, you're just like, really again, like, and now
Yeah,
if you're Diego, you're questing for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 this next turn until Maui comes down. But ooh, it's getting dangerous.
so we do see that Prince Philip, while he has Ward, he does not have Maui proof. So Prince Philip did get challenged and taken out by the Maui. But one thing that is kind of cool that I want to point out with the lady is it's kind of like a sneaky card draw. It's not really card
Mm-hmm.
draw, it's a card recycling. So you get that card
Yes.
advantage, especially because so many of the cards are going to be 1 or 2 cost in Diego's deck. In this case, it looks like he drew a Cricky, which he does not have enough ink to draw play,
Mm-mm.
and that Chernobog is sitting there going, "Well, I'm not inked. Don't look at me."
Yep. It's at this point that Cricky might as well be an uninkable with, where he's at right now. But, the Daisy triggers seeing a Vitalosphere. It looks like a little bit of judge typing, just kind of checking out what that. Okay, nothing exciting. So, but Daisy hitting a Vitalosphere. So again, not hitting a creature that Daisy's been really good this game for Diego. So oh man, 16, and that. Oh,
Yeah, 16 unanswered. And that's the thing that can be rough is I mean, Maui, he is great at beating up these little willpower and strength characters, but he's
mm,
not good at getting lore. So even though Diego had to sit and not ink and not play anything that turn, it's not the end of the world for him. And if anything, he any
so kind of just reading the chat, it looks like one of the players, or it may have been maybe somebody accidentally hit the reset. So they're trying to get everybody right to the correct lore and the correct ink and everything. So don't mind the little technical difficulties as they figure all that out real quick. But so yeah, just want to make sure we get the most real game. But one thing, while they figure that out, did you notice that they have almost the same exact mat other than color?
Yeah, is that the Kawa design? I've noticed that like this is the cool playmat. All the pro gamers
Oh.
have the fabric ones, and that's how I know
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, that's a pro gamer if they have a fabric
Yeah.
one. So either that or they called beforehand and said, which one are you using? I imagine that's what it was, as they said, we should use the same one.
Yeah. Wouldn't
It looks
that
like a
be
little
cute?
different color. I would love that.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, it does look very much like Kawa's design. But yeah, I'm just curious, where are these mats coming from? But I feel the same way about cloth. One of um the store owner at one of the stores I play at, she uses a cloth play mat, and someone almost spilt their drink on the table where they're not supposed to have their drinks. And she runs an entire enchanted foiled deck, and she went to cover the mat before the cards because she's like, the mat was just so important to her. But yeah, so whenever I see the mats, I'm like, oh boy, like these cloth
I
ones.
know.
So
I play with my Cinderella one. I traded for that with Travers Tavern. I traded for his Cinderella mat, and I play with it, and I got pizza on it, and I felt bad. But also, it's kind of like when you get your new car. You're like, okay, well that's over with. So we are still kind of making sure everything's right. That's one thing I love about Pixelborn is the audit trail. I love an audit
Yes.
trail. My God,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in my outfit. I look like someone that loves an audit trail. So that's what we're doing right now. And it's got to be kind of these kind of positions are fun and hard because you get to sit and think. And you're like, okay, am I good? Am I going to make it through this? We Diego knows there's no be prepared. But I mean, we see two Sisu's in there. However, he's only at 6 ink. So I mean, it's he doesn't know what's in his hand, but he
Mm-hmm.
isn't living in that kind of dual state where you're like, okay, I know you don't have be prepared, so you could technically do that, but can't see. So I don't know. I think playing against a Ruby Sapphire deck is a lot of doing. Please don't hurt me. And as we know, they can hurt you a little fast.
Yes, yes, they can. And so yeah, while they figure that out, though, I'm throwing up their little player cards so everybody can kind of have something to look at. Let the brag about these players for a little bit. Again, just all-star players, and shout out to Pavel and everybody else that helps make this possible. Being able to get these players to show off the games for us, it's just awesome. I mean, how often do you get to see two DLC champions duke it out? And oh, but we're on. So let me get these deck. There we go. We're back. Okay.
And we can see that he's definitely saying, I need to get some cards because we have a Tamato with no items. We have a Ciso with no shift. So instead of going to challenge with that Maui, he says, I'm going to go ahead and try to get something out here. And he ends up still playing that,
Oh, smart. Okay.
yeah, Tamato and use that to get Rush. And that was enough to do at least one challenge, which helps because he had to challenge at least one of those characters.
Yes. Yes.
Uh,
So this way I really like that play. I mean, he only goes to 19 again. You have no reach in green yellow, at least this in Diego's list. So Big Sizu would have cleared the whole board before this nasty Cricky came down, but that might be. Let's see if Ed can pull anything out. Oh no.
wow, that is what's worse than two unplayable Sisus? It's three, but at least they were enchanted. So we've seen both decks do exactly the cool things they can do. I mean, Diego's deck can go so fast and just be problems right out the get-go.
Mhm.
And in this case, he didn't get those little tools he needs to keep Diego at bay. He didn't get that daring visitor. He didn't have the sapphire coil. So it definitely was something where he just by the time he was able to do anything, the train had already left the station. So I'm very interested to see how game three goes.
Oh yeah, it's so interesting because these games, both of these games have been over what turn 6, turn 7, and it's always funny to say that because you just don't expect games to end that quickly when you see a red blue deck, but when you're running green yellow, it's again no reach. So when your board gets cleared, that can kind of just be it. But game one, Ed got down two big Sizu, so not a lot you can do when he's questing. I think he went from 0 to 20 in 3 questing turns, I believe. Once he did start questing, so it's
Yeah.
pretty interesting, pretty wild game so far. So let's see. Going into game three, we have of course Ed being on the play. So let's see if he can run back what he did in game one.
So we already see some cards that Ed is probably very happy to see with a Brawl, a Tipo, Vitalosphere, Coil, already looking much, much better for him. It's interesting looking at these two decks because there's some things we just haven't seen yet. And I wonder if we will see just because these games have been going so fast. We have not seen the churn of the Churnadog name.
Yes.
We see a Maleficent Dragon there, which I am very sure will be ink momentarily. But they just go so fast where we haven't even seen there's a big crab here too. And so the other thing I think that's interesting about this matchup is Ed's deck likes to do a nice setup and get everything
Mm-hmm.
all spread out for the meal he's going to have. But Diego's deck says, you have to deal with me. You cannot leave me unchecked, which
Mm-hmm.
kind of is stressful for Ed because obviously Ed, if he gets to his win conditions, he can win with Diego at 19 lore, but he has to survive letting Diego do lots of very stressful things on his side.
Oh yes, yes he does. And this is who we are really close to being able to see the actual Cherna dog, combo piece happening. When we look at Diego's hand, he has a lot of those pieces. Like just having the 7 cost tramp is huge, but being able to he can play out what 3 cards going into turn 2 on turn 2, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. So
Going wide is incredibly powerful in this kind of lineup, and it looks like that's a lady, and when lady has the buff effect for she quests for 2, she has a tramp in play, and he's 1 less, so he could in theory play a daisy and then turn 2, or he doesn't have the 2-drop tramp, but he does have
Uh,
the
he
Pegasus,
he has
so
the
that's another
he
option.
has the enchanted 2-drop tramp.
Oh, sorry, I was thinking that was enchanted. My goodness, yes. So yeah, that means he could next turn do a lady tramp, and then why not a Pegasus? He's got
Yep,
lots of
yep.
options.
I mean that's just it. So he because he can play the lady, which discounts the tramp. So he'll have 3 and I might have that backwards, but he'll have 3 characters down, and then the next turn. Oh, this is
Yeah, if he doesn't have an answer, because I mean, I think I thought I saw a brawl. Did he mulligan the brawl? That'd be crazy,
he
but
did. So at least
wow.
it's yeah. He either altered it because he either altered it or he inked it, but it is no longer here. So,
Which boy will that because yeah, I mean, the lady is one where you get +1 lore as well if tramp's in play. So
yes.
easy quest for 2, and then that could be another turn for 5 the turn after. Uh, but we'll see what he ends up actually playing. He's still able to ramp, like we said.
Hmm.
He is building things where he needs to be, where next turn he gets to start drawing cards and getting those answers. And who knows if a brawl is going to be right there for him.
All right. Daisy wasn't as lucky this time. Gives that Flowersham to the to Ed, but ooh, speaking of Flowersham, what are you? Are you a Hiram or a oh, what were how did JD like to say it the other day? Uh, some of the chat was not happy with Hiram. I think he was saying
Well, I've
Hiram.
heard some people say haram, which is like
Oh, oh.
which is the Arabic term for forbidden, which I think it should be forbidden. But yeah, there's Hiram, and just Flaversham,
Mm-hmm.
or uh, Flavorsham if you're just feeling fun. But either
Yes.
way, Daring Visitor's coming in here and is about to do something to any one of these characters, but I think I know who she's gonna hit.
Oh, I mean, all 3 are good options. It's the Pegasus. Yep. Yep. Get the evasive out of there. Get that shift opportunity out of there. So,
Yeah,
all right.
exactly. Because I
Ooh.
mean, you can shift. I mean, the daisy's a problem, but could get him card draw. And then that lady, not the biggest problem in this current, because she can get 1 card back, that
Mm-hmm.
Pegasus. But we'll see. He has other things he can do right now with his 3 ink.
And a lot of opportunities here. So 3 ink. So can't do tramp yet, of course. Not enough characters down.
Yeah, so
Um.
the baby tramp could be 1 cost, and then he could also
Yes.
play Piglet, which then if he can keep, we don't have any coils on the board, and brawls. He doesn't know he doesn't have that, but either way, that could be a fun way, and then that's going to make that 7 cost tramp a little bit better at feeding a potential Chernobog. But
Mm-hmm.
we'll see how he does here. First, he's like, "Let's just see what you're
Yeah.
going to get. Is it
Let's
bad? Is it good?
knowledge.
It's good.
Not yeah.
It's good. Well, not so good because there's no items in his discard yet. But as we know, uh, well,
Yeah, I
there's no
mean,
higher.
yeah, there's no items yet, right? Because he inked the Hiram, so the popsicle just sits there. But one thing he has to be aware of is that Shift Sizu can come down next turn, and that looks like what he's playing around. Opts to play that lady. That way, Shift Sizu can't clear it, and if Shift Sizu, wants to trade, then you lose the Sizu as well. So really heads up play by Diego to recognize like, hey, he's coming into the kill turn, and turn 6 when there's a dare or going into 6 ink is the kill turn. Getting that big Caesar down, trading into things is really, really nasty. So let's see how Ed decides to. All right, goes the shift route. So now will he trade? is the question. I'd imagine he will, right?
Yeah, because I mean, as we saw in the first game, when you wipe the board, it's it's hard to come back from. Now he does have
Yes.
more cards in hand than he did last time, but also questing for 3 feels good too. So
Yep.
I said
And
singing. We didn't even think
yep.
of that as an option. He's
Yep.
like, you know
Yep.
what? I could challenge, I could quest, or I could sing.
And singing always feels good in Lorcana, right? So why not get a little Moana in there? Not quite as nice as a crab singing, right? I'm so
Yeah, and that
shiny. Pretty good song in that movie. So
now that lady is just not so menacing on her own. Her biggest thing is when she comes into play, she's got that ability to bring 2 cards back. But she is a 4/4, so I mean that
mm-hmm.
big the Sisu doesn't want to run into her. She doesn't have to because that would be a clean trade. And I'm like, that's not really worth it. There's other things they can do later if he can get out a coil, get out really anything else. Suddenly that lady can be getting can be banished in a cleaner way than a
Mm,
trade with a 3-cost Sisu.
definitely. So it's Diego's in a rough place. Like a lot of these cards right now, just not great if, knowing that there's always the chance that he has a Daring Sisu or more just easy answers for these low attack characters. But he does opt, you can't play to not lose, right? I think that's something that people told me a lot when I first started playing is if you play to not lose, you'll most likely lose, especially against red blue, right? They want you to not, they want you to be afraid. Oh, goodness.
You should be afraid because now we see another Sisu, and
Mm-hmm.
this one he'll just pay out of pocket for. I always think it's like, you can shift or you can pay out of pocket. Now that trade doesn't look so bad.
Yeah. Yep.
Last time I was like, I don't want to use my only Sisu, and it's like, well, if I have a second and a third Sisu, then maybe I do.
Yeah. Oh man. And then he's got the high room for the popsicle if he wanted to draw, or he can just go ahead. He's showing off to the chat like, oh, good thing I drew this third big Sisu. I can just imagine right now the reaction from Diego.
It feels unreasonable. You go, that can't be right. But the answer is
Yeah.
yeah, and now we're at the point too where all he has to do is, get one more inkable card, and then once we get into that top deck mode, hey, I have something right here. It's Maleficent Dragon. So I'm hoping he doesn't shift this base right now. It would make sense. He doesn't. Good, because I'm like, don't do it, please. This is me from the future. You can't hear me.
Well, and here's
All
the
right.
here's the wild thing, right? Is Diego, I mean, Ed doesn't even have to challenge or remove anything at this point. He can just sit here and quest and just win that way. Like oh, and another Maleficent Dragon because why not? So
Yeah, and then a brawl. So that's the thing. It was so tricky looking at his opening hand, and that's why I don't want to say I just like Ruby Sapphire. It's a beautiful deck. All decks are beautiful, but they can make you hurt in such a unique way, in a way where you're like, this is good. This is a wonderful hand. Nothing ever bad could happen to me.
mm-hmm.
And then suddenly you blink, and then you're like, what? And then that's what he's doing now, is
Yep.
saying, I need you to know I have an answer to everything you could possibly have in your deck.
Oh,
So wow.
wild. Yeah, I
Both of
mean,
these games were extraordinarily fast.
oh yeah, we're about to get him in here for interviews, and it's we were talking about that B prep controversy earlier, and it's one of those things like if he had drawn B prep over, let's say he'd drawn a B prep instead of the second big Sisu, he could have played that, but it would have wiped his own board, and not having to do that allowed him to quest just so quickly. But here they're hopping in, so let's get some questions firing.
Absolutely. So, all right, Ed and Diego, are you able to hear us okay?
Yep. Can you hear us?
Yeah, we
Yes, we sure
can.
can.
All right. Well, gentlemen, that was exciting to say the least. It's not very often that people get to see such high caliber DLC winners duking it out. Diego, how did that feel for you, buddy?
Uh, it felt bad getting CC'd. It just my whole
Yeah,
board wiped out.
Not just
three
But
once,
that's
times.
but
what.
three
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, it's kind of brutal. That's what his deck does, though. He is playing 4 small CCs and 4 big CCs, and he has cards to get to those cards. So
Mm-hmm.
That's what he wants to see.
Yeah, no, and he saw exactly that. And both times, getting multiple big Sisus down coming early, um, it was wild. You were able to go fast enough in game two, though, but unfortunately, just that, being on the draw for those other two games. We did have a question for you, Ed, because, we were talking about this when we were talking about deck lists earlier on. There's kind of this controversy right now of does red blue really need B prep now that there is coils and things like that. And I don't know how much, you've played this particular list other than the LCCC, but how do you feel about the no B preps? Do you think that is the route to go for red blue?
I think B prep is only good against three strength worded characters like Ariel, for example.
Mhm.
Um, Everything else you can kind of take down now with like the new Sapphire Coil. I kind of underestimated the power of that card. Like, you could ink multiple times with like how far, and then ink for your regular turn, and then now you can start taking out like really big things with that card.
Yeah.
So I think we're in a meta where you don't really want to be wiping your own board.
Mhm.
I think that like negative tempo is not going to work in this format at the moment. And I think Sisu is the perfect card because there's actually a lot of like small character go wide kind of decks. Even Sapphire Steel has a lot of three strength characters, but in combination with the Sapphire Coil, you're going to be able to take those down even with the small Sisu.
Mhm. No, I
Question.
go
Oh,
ahead,
sorry, go ahead.
Katie. Go. Nope, you got it.
Well, I mean, so your deck fundamentally changed completely, I think, from round one. So, I mean, what was it in round one that made you go, hey, be prepared, get out, items, get in here? I mean, it was kind of changed the flavor entirely. What were some of the decisions that led to you to switch your game plan on your deck?
Yeah, so after I played Artifacts last week, he basically like obliterated my like characters every single turn,
Mhm.
and I thought I wasn't able to claw back with cards like Scar. I realized the problem with Scar was like yes, he was able to take out a couple of things, but then he kind of gets banished afterwards. So my angle that for this week was to try to banish things without putting too much damage on my own characters. um like for example, just trying to set up that big Sisu, right? Like after you Sisu, you still have like the four willpower on him, so it's a little bit harder to take out. And I thought I needed a little bit more like early interaction. My previous list, I had like the four Scar, four B prep, but I thought that that was already kind of too late, and my opponent was already getting out too fast.
Mhm.
And I also realized I ran out of cards really quickly. So for this week, I wanted to add the Tamatoas. I thought they were really good for the refill, especially after you very aggressively dump your hand with like your Sisu and shifting and play coils. I thought that was like the perfect card to try to
Yeah.
get resources back. So I think for this week, I'm fairly happy with the deck. Maybe for next week, I might try to like lower it a little bit more to the ground. I realized like against decks like Diego's deck, sometimes when you're on the draw, like honestly, I was very very fortunate to win on the draw in game one. It's like very very hard to come back from those really aggressive starts that they have, right? Like one drop into two one drops, and
Mhm.
then like Prince Philip. It's basically impossible unless you have the absolute like nut in hand with like the ramp into another ramp Sisu shift Sisu line.
Mhm.
Um, I'm probably considering like potentially adding Bell to the deck. I know a lot of people are like, well, you
Mm.
can't add Bell because you don't have the Forty Sphere to kind of fuel it. But I
Mhm.
think there are probably ways to add Bell and Scrooge into this deck, and it might be like you might run out of resources a little bit quicker, but I think it at least gives you a higher chance to win on the draw.
Yeah, I mean, and it's one of the biggest things about Bell, right? Is being able to challenge early and letting you have time to be able to do things. I mean, we even saw Blurple running it with just their four popsicles for that very reason. That 3/3 character just being able to challenge things, and then in Blurple's case, of course, also being able to sing friends. But no, I mean, in anything's worth exploring right now, right? It's one of the things that is so exciting with this
Yeah,
early meta.
yeah, and speaking of early meta, I mean, we might have seen Ed win, but we already saw that Diego won the best deck name of Churnadog. So we still have the dogs, we have the churn, but we saw that you kind of tinkered with your deck list a little bit. Namely, you said kick Cloud Kicker, get out of here, and also Clarabelle was removed. So I also wanted to touch base with you on why you titrated your deck the way you did this week, because this is kind of a deck where people are building it as each week, the same way you are.
Yeah, yeah. Early on, for week one, I had to submit the list like the day after the cards were released. So I was just trying out the Clarabelle package, and I found that Clarabelle, the one cost, wouldn't stick around to shift, and I'm usually only getting to 5 ink, so it was really hard to get to the big Clarabelle. So I completely threw that away. Um, I had Merfolks in week one, and now the meta is more heavy to high willpower. It's just better. Like the 0-4 characters stick around more, so that's why I threw in Nala. I also threw in Yzma, which is I find her to be like the perfect ink card. If Yzma, I draw her, I'm like, oh, that's auto ink. Or it could help me just filter my hand to remove some uninkables, and so I'm not stuck as much. And then some other changes I did, with Prince Philip, I figured there was a higher chance to run into red blue, and Prince Philip, it was just a quick change for something that won't be able to get CSU'd. Um, in hindsight, Kick Cloud Kicker would have still been okay just because it can bounce the baby Sisu and delay a turn for that shift Sisu to come out. Um, it might take out another character, but like buying that turn probably equals more lore than a Prince Philip, which would just quest for 2 there. But overall, like I think the deck is really solid. I brought it to a double case tournament this past weekend, and it was 4 kick cloud kickers instead of the Prince Phillips, and it ran really well. It does really well into blue steel, but yeah.
Because he said, "You're not going to quail me, not today." So I do like that aspect of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, that's all he does is kind of just stand there and menace.
Yep.
So Meyer, do you have any other questions about the changes of the deck or how the matchup went?
I don't think so. I remember, so I did a video and I was talking about the different changes and all the changes and everything. And I'm a huge fan of Churna Dogs, and I remember going over Ed's list and I was like, this is really interesting. No dime, no half sharks. Like this is just I'm gonna grind you out to get there. And we kind of saw it, and Ed kind of answered it really well. Of how do you feel about no B preps? It's like, well, I didn't have B prep, so instead I had these big Sizus, and you went from 0 to 20 in like 3 turns just playing big Sizus. So yeah, I love seeing the meta develop. We talked about it earlier. I love seeing the players, you know, I love seeing you guys, Ed and Diego, just kind of how you alter things. So I'm excited for week 3. Like that's for sure. I'm excited for the rest of week 2, right? But
Yeah.
also excited to see how things continue to change going forward. Are either of you gentlemen going to the CCS 12K now?
No, I'm all the way in Canada, so it's a little bit far.
Okay.
But yeah, good luck to all those people that are going.
You can watch it on the internet. It's like you're there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the one time I went, it was because I just happened to be at like a coworker's like wedding in Atlanta, so I just happened to drop by. But yeah, if I had to go there just to go there, it's like a little far for me.
a little, yeah, but
It's a little on the other coast, other side of the country.
in the
Yeah.
meantime, we get to see you here on the internet, which is the next best thing. So, and it's almost bedtime, so that's the best part about this. It's
Yes.
not every game you get to say that was fun. I'm gonna go to bed now, but I think that's what we're at here at this game.
Well, gentlemen, speaking of bedtime, I don't want to keep you guys up too much later. I know it is getting a little late for everybody. So, Ed, anyone to shout out?
Yeah, let me shout out to my team, Team Tianhu. They helped me a lot actually practicing this matchup. Specifically Chris and Josie. I really appreciate them. And yeah, I mean, I definitely would not have found all these lines on my own. So shout out to them, and also SLTC. Dave also helped me a lot practice this matchup.
All right, Diego, shout outs.
Yeah, I just want to shout out my team, Team Luxury, and just a small plug to follow me on X at Level9001. And I just launched up my Metafy as well.
Ooh.
If anybody needs some coaching, find me there at Level9001.
All
Yeah,
right.
I might need some Churna Dog support after this because I'm like, I love it. It's a very fun deck. So thank you for the shout out on that.
Yeah, it's a great deck that at the surface level it might seem just like as a turn sideways deck, but there's a lot of thinking involved and how to trap your opponent. So it's like the an easy deck, but it makes you feel smart when you pull it off.
Oh yeah, the synergies are so fun in that deck.
Oh yeah.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. We're just going to send some shout outs our way, but thank you for the interview. Thank you for the game. As far as things go, really quick, I do want to shout out Speedy. He is our all-star here judging this game. Speedy, do you want to shout out anyone?
Hi. I don't know. I was gonna talk. Um,
You you have to. Speech,
yeah,
speech.
I have to now. No. Thank you to both these players, Ed and Diego. I've got to sit with you guys multiple times now. You guys are both excellent players. Great match. Sorry for my failure of math there in the middle, but I appreciate the patience.
Math
And
after dark is hard.
math at any time is hard. Um, Judges are bad at math too. Don't worry, it happens. But yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you to Pavel for running this series. Thank you to all of my fellow rules advisors and judges who are helping run this event as well. Phil is doing a great job as the head judge for this event, so I appreciate the entire Disney Lorcana community. As cheesy as it sounds, there's a ton of great people here, and the fact that we can come together and do this is fantastic. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Sweet.
I love our judges. They're the
I do
best
too.
judges. They just do it for fun. Like they're
I
just
know.
people who are like, I like rules and helping people. That's the best.
Yeah, yeah, they're pretty wild, these judges, but where would we be without them? So really appreciate the time you guys
Shout
dedicate.
out to the
Katie,
judges.
or what's up, Ed?
I would say shout out to the judges.
Yeah.
Yes, always, forever. We will never stop because yeah, I love them and they're fun.
Katie, shout
My
outs.
shout outs?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to everyone who's watching. Everybody, I'm sure, is like snuggled in their bed. That's what I'm imagining. Is everyone's got like their little sleeping cap and their candle, and after this, we'll blow it out. So thank you for hanging out with us, and yeah, thank you to Pavel for hosting this, and for all the players, and thank you Meyer for hosting me. Everybody can find me at just search Lore Keepers Inn, it'll come up. If you search Katie Lorcana, you might get Live Left Lorcana Katie, but she's great too. But hopefully you'll get me. But thank you for having me because it's been an absolute joy.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Katie. I was super excited when I saw that I got to when I get to be in the booth with you because we have not been in the booth together yet, and I get to
No.
see you. You're always either introducing me or I'm introducing you for the SLC, and I just barely miss you. So the opportunity finally presented itself, but I'm going to sign us off so everyone can get to bed. First things first, though, if you guys want to see the pairings for the rest of everything, make sure you check out. I just put it in the chat. It's LCCC.live. Okay, and you can go see all the pairings. You can even vote. Who do you think is going to win what game? All right. It's really exciting, really cool thing that Inkdex and Pavel have put together for us. Of course, if you guys want to follow me, I do have a Twitter. I do have social media. My wifeager is getting on me for doing better about that, but you can mostly find me on Discord in the 20 lore page or on my YouTube channel there. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, all I have to say is remember, more important than anything else, be happy and healthy, all right? That's all that matters. So thank you everyone for joining us, and we're going to sign off. And I'm going to try and do this right without ruining